I feel like I turned 23 and I felt my frontal lobe like grow. Now I've been 23 for almost 6 months and I've felt it grow even more. It is so great. I've been saying literally for the past 2 years, I can't wait for my frontal lobe to grow more because it sucks. God, like, it feels so good. The process of just being like young and stupid because you just cannot control yourself enough to do the smart thing. Like, you don't even know that the smart thing exists. That is the worst. Anyways. Hi guys. Welcome to my humble abode. Happy to have you here. My name is Delaney. This is Delaney's Holiday. When I first decided to start this channel, I knew I wanted it to be a space for me to post my art and my music and little covers and talk about art and creativity and womanhood with you guys. However, the videos that I consume the most on YouTube that probably have meant the most to me have been videos of women sitting down and kind of talking about their lives and different lessons they've learned and different philosophies they have. I want my channel to be a space for that too because of how much these videos mean to me. So this is going to be my first talk time video, and I decided to record this kind of impromptu because I had a very strange day. I've had a lot of strange days in the last 2 months, to be honest. It was one of those days where things just did not go the way that I had expected them to or planned them to, or I didn't feel the way that I wanted to today. I was gonna go to work tonight. I work a job in nightlife. I hate it. I did not do several of the things that I had planned, and I didn't do those things because of how I was feeling. And that's okay. And the reason I talk to you about this is because today the topic that I want to talk about is pivoting, specifically pivoting with grace. The reason this topic is very important to me, and it's one that I think is worth looking into for yourself and interrogating a little bit and trying to prioritize as you move through life, is because life is honestly just a constant cycle of you having plans for something or having expectations for something or wanting something and either having it work out or having it not work out. It's just a constant loop of that. And the way that you navigate it and having confidence in the way that you do that will play a really big part in your development over time. This has absolutely been the truth for me. I have always been someone who really, really excels in my ability to have something not work out and get up and just go on anyways and move on to the next best thing. I remember being 16 years old and going through my first breakup and crying about it, like just sobbing my eyes out to my mother for maybe a whole entire day, and then the next day waking up and saying to my mom, you know, that's okay because one day I'm going to make him regret ever having done this. Which is a very spiteful and ominous thing for me to have said at the time. But yeah, that was my plan. And honestly, throughout my life, every time I have felt wronged or every time I have felt not seen or not given something that I thought I wanted or I thought I deserved, I have always moved on and decided to make it everybody else's problem afterwards. And just in the last year, I'm learning that that is not good. And we're going to talk about that today. I have always been someone who has been able to handle rejection really, really well. It's come super easily to me. I was raised in a military family. I was not given time to boo-hoo cry when something went wrong. I think the reason that has persisted so far as I've gotten older is because of just this constant go, go, go mentality. Today, there's this kind of narrative that's shoved down our throats that we need to be resilient and we have to keep going. And I'm sure that has something to do with the fact that our culture really has been built upon just encouraging us to work ourselves into a hole and to just never take the time to breathe. I think that's an okay trait to have. It really is like one of my beliefs still, that being someone who's resilient and being able to take a hit and then just get up and keep going is one of the best qualities you can have in life. But I think that is specifically applicable when it comes to things that don't involve our emotions so much. It took me a really long time to even realize that, but I do now. The reason I have decided that for me, pretending like I'm over things or convincing myself that I'm over things when I'm not is not a good thing, is because what happens when we do that, when we distract ourselves from our emotions, those feelings never go away. Like, they always linger somewhere underneath the surface area. And what I've found for myself is, because I'm so good at pivoting, there are a lot of emotions that I have pushed like just way down, that like pop up in my interactions with others or in my everyday life, and I don't even have the ability to even like clock when they are popping up, and sometimes others will point them out to me and I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Because I have convinced myself that they are just not issues. And I got to that point, I think, through being really good at pivoting. But pivoting in that way is not pivoting with grace. For me personally, I know that the desire to shake off the emotions that I didn't want to have to feel came from being raised in an environment where I was really heavily taught how to conquer my emotions, but never to feel them. But what usually happens when we become accustomed to knowing how to push past the emotional process rather than sitting and fully experiencing each phase of it is we end up jumping to whatever we think the next best thing is to distract ourselves from what the root of the problem really was. And when you do this over and over and over again throughout your life, what you realize is there was never even actually a next best thing, because you felt the loss that you did for a reason. And no matter what thing you ended up jumping to, no matter if you do a complete 360 flip on your life, that's never going to change the fact that those emotions existed. And the only real solution to dealing with those emotions is by sitting with them. I have done so many things in my life in the name of getting over something, and some of those things have been extremely positive and some of them have been extremely negative. But neither side of that spectrum has ever actually given me the opportunity to fully heal. And then your life goes on and you keep encountering the same issues because you never just gave yourself the space to breathe when it happened the first time. I really believe there's a happy medium somewhere in the spectrum of like, something bad happened to me, I'm going to grieve forever and I'm never going to get over this. And something bad happened to me, I need to get over this immediately. Somewhere in the middle is where we actually want to land. If you're someone who does exist on like a really far end of this long spectrum of how we recover from emotional damage, a really good way to deal with extreme methods that you have acquired is to investigate it and to spend time getting to the bottom of it so you can create rules for yourself to follow and strategies that you know work in helping you through that process. The emotions that you feel are meant to be felt most of the time. Notice how I'm saying most of the time, because I have not even really fully convinced myself of everything that I'm saying in this video yet. I'm getting there. That's why we're making the video, is so I can listen back to this at a later date. I'm working on it. But the emotions you feel are meant to be felt, and if they're not meant to be felt, if it's not productive for you to feel them, they are absolutely 100% worth interrogating and looking into and breaking apart and writing about, yada, yada, yada. I watched a video essay a long time ago. If I can find it, I will link it somewhere in the bio. But it was this young man, and he was talking about how the reason so many people feel lost today or don't have concrete opinions about anything or change their minds so frequently is because they aren't sure what their morals are. He talked about how your morals are this compass that you have on how to navigate life and when to say no to something and when to say yes to something and when to agree with someone and when not to and who to allow in your life. You can figure out all of that, and it doesn't have to be this like confusing thing if you know what your morals are. A lot of times our emotions can serve as this like stand-in or guideline for what our morals are. After learning this information, now that I've set that as something that's important for me to do in my life, changing my mind and pretending like my emotions don't exist, it's not convenient for me anymore. I realized that a lot of times me having something fall apart and immediately trying to move on and fix it for myself wasn't giving me the time to interrogate the emotions that I was having and why I was so upset about something having not worked out, and therefore it wasn't giving me the opportunity to interrogate my morals. Because I wasn't taking the time to do that, I was just looking for like the next best thing to grab onto, and a lot of the times whatever that was not what I really wanted. And then I was just moving through the world, flailing my arms around, having no idea what I really wanted. And honestly, that's okay. This is all a part of the process. Sometimes you're not going to know. But realizing that was happening for me was kind of just like this huge epiphany. So, yes. In the long run, it is not productive to just pretend you're over something or change your mind or force yourself to get over something that is meant to be felt. And when you don't learn that, you will have to deal with the effects of it in very harsh ways. My dad used to use this really great analogy a lot to me when I was growing up, and I use it all the time now. He would say to me, like, when you go through some sort of like emotional thing, whether that be a breakup or like the loss of the friend, you can think of yourself as like a piece of paper. And every time you get hit with something, there's like a little tiny piece that's pulled off of you. This piece of paper that is the metaphorical you gets damaged. The more and more that happens as time goes on, this piece of paper has just become like extremely like withered, and it's harder to make it look the way it did in the beginning. And that like is a little bit of a harsh analogy now that I'm saying it out loud. I think you guys know what I mean. Long story short, you can't just slap a piece of like scotch tape on a ripped piece of paper and expect it to all be better. You, no matter how much kicking and screaming you do, you have to give yourself time to recover. Immediately pivoting is not going to fix the problem. Telling yourself that you feel better when you don't is not going to fix the problem. Only time will fix the problem. But I also believe a way to expedite that is in the time that you are taking, get to the bottom of that shit, okay? I encourage you to sit with emotions of discomfort, not for too long. Obviously, we can't sit around and lick our wounds forever, but when you feel a certain way, let yourself feel it, because that will reveal something, and whatever that reveals will 100% help you move on with life and navigate it in a way that feels better or just truer to yourself. Now to talk about how I personally am pivoting gracefully as of recently. Today is a great example of that. I had this expectation for how today was going to go, and it didn't go that way. And there was a moment where I was laying in my bed and something had just not gone my way. The old part of my brain was thinking, okay, well, that's all right. I'm going to just go to work tonight. I'm going to go to work tonight. Then I was like, wait a minute. No. Instead of doing the thing that was my first impulse to do, shaking it off and going to work, I was like, you know what? This is a great opportunity for me to practice giving myself grace and pivoting gracefully. I'm gonna stay home. I'm gonna process my thoughts and just let myself chill out, you know? You gotta just let yourself chill out sometimes. And it doesn't have to be some like big elaborate thing. You don't have to like take a bubble bath or like, I don't know, get a facial. Sometimes it can just look like cooking yourself a meal, or maybe like what I'm gonna do after I record this is probably go down the street and get like a popsicle from the gas station and watch a movie. It can look like that too. I think my overarching point is if you are someone that feels like you have a problem with being impulsive or always trying to move on to the next thing, or not processing your emotions well enough and then having it blow up in your face later, it is very worthwhile to learn that when you have an uncomfortable feeling, when you're not feeling your best, there is a reason behind that. It doesn't always mean that you need to carry on about it or like overinflate this situation, but it does mean that you should figure out why that is. Having the ability to feel and to care is a beautiful thing. Anytime I have ever felt deeply about something in my life, it was worth looking into. Your emotions are there to reveal what's important to you. And if you're someone like me who feels like they're on this eternal quest to like figure out what is for them and what isn't and immediately get to the good part, listening to your emotions should be something that you can convince yourself is worthwhile. So that's kind of how I like to look at it recently, and that makes me really happy. God, like, it feels so good not to be stuck in that young, foolish aloofness where I felt like if someone rejected me or something didn't happen the way that I wanted it to, I just had to like immediately go do something else to like distract myself. Or, oh my God, that was so exhausting. Anyways, I think that's all I have to say for today. Thank you for listening if you made it this far. This is my first talkie time video. I want these videos to get like stronger, and my microphone died while recording the outro of this video and I didn't notice until I was editing it. So this is my outro. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and leave a comment for other things you would like me to discuss or ponder or, you know, yap about. Bye.